Excellent. Good afternoon and welcome back. I am incredibly privileged to be moderating this panel of brilliant women who we just heard give their 15 minutes of their journey in traumatic brain injury. But this particular panel is really going to be a conversation with these three powerful and brilliant Black women who've been working on the issue of traumatic brain injury. And we're going to be having a conversation as if we're sitting in each other's kitchens and really trying to delve deeper into the impact of racism and white supremacy on scholarship and what that looks like, as we said, at the intersection of race and gender. So I'd like to actually start with, who am I going to start with? Dr. Kelli. Dr. Kelli Gary, can you share with us some of your truths, both positive and negative, about what it's been like for you working at VCU as you pursue academic tenure and independent research, all the while having traumatic brain injury?
Well, thank you for that. My truth is that it is important as a person, a Black woman, and is important as a person that is trying to climb up the ladder of success in academia, to acknowledge all of your strengths and your limitations. Any of us bring a lot to the table, but it might not be in the form that others might see or might realize that can be important and change the scope and the trajectory of certain projects or certain things. So some of the truths about my journey is that there's always going to be people out there, whether it is something that will help them with their own agenda or not, that will help you to achieve what it is you want to achieve. So when I came into this, coming to the TBI model systems at VCU, I found my truth, I found my understanding, I found what role I could play in disseminating information, both published manuscripts and other forms of information, so that I could climb higher in my field, as well as being a strong advocate for people with brain injury. So I am, the truth that I had when I first started off is that anybody will give you a chance if you work as hard as you can. I give praise and honor to Dr. Jeff Kreutzer for all that he has done for me. He is the reason that I am at VCU today. And there is not much I would have been able to accomplish when it comes to things that can help lead to tenure without him. And I'm so grateful for his help, whether, again, it was because it would help him with his own agenda or not. He still brought me along for the ride, and it helped me build up and do what it is that I had to do. So that, but then also some of the negative things is that is when I wasn't able to express what my limitations were, maybe because I didn't really understand them, or I always try to put myself on the same level of those that didn't even have a brain injury, but they were at the level that I had reached. And I didn't come to terms until just recently with the problems that I have and with the limitations that I have, so that I can focus on whatever my strengths are more and minimize my weaknesses.
Wow.
So it was more about those people telling me what I couldn't do that I internalized, because I was trying to put myself on the same level as they were, even though many of them didn't have brain injuries.
Wow, that's profound. Well, I'm going to pose the same question to Dr. Monique Pappadis. What were some of your own truths, both positive and negative?
Well, for Me, it's just really, again, identifying, at least for me, it was always, identifying what it is or what I want to achieve. I'm very kind of goal oriented. And then really thinking about what do I need to get there? Who do I need to bring in to get me to that place? And so, like Kelli, we're all kind of in the academic setting. Everyone is striving, right, for the next level, achieve the next level. How do we get there to the next level? And so I would say that, just stay the course, identify what the thing. I think people often don't stop and think about, exactly what do you need? And I had to have my own heart to heart with myself and say, okay, what do I need? Not what other people need from me, and how can I help, the other person, which I don't mind, everyone that knows me know I'm definitely a helper, but kind of take a moment and think about what you need. I think we tend to forget that, like, what do we need? And, if we don't know how to get what we need, figure it out, bring someone in to help you with figuring that out and providing that support. So, all of us can talk about people who have been there to support us, to move us along this path that we're on. And so that's really key for all of us, we need, support from others. We can't do it alone, especially in research. Research is not a one person venture. It's multiple people, often with that one common goal that they're trying to achieve, and what resources that you need. People often forget about the resource piece, whether that's financial, whether people could be resources, a variety of things, whether it's training. And so just, really, I constantly do that. I constantly think about, okay, what are my next steps? What do I need to do to get me to that point? And then also have kind of your plan A and plan B, because people will always try to move the finish line. People will always try to throw rocks at you to get you off your course. But stay the course, and keep your eye on the prize. And I say this all the time. In academia, especially as a junior, we often look at the next person to kind of evaluate ourselves. Don't do that. We're all on different tracks. You're not on my track. I'm not on yours. We're running on different tracks. So there's no point for me looking at you and what you're doing over there, or what you're looking at me, what I'm doing over here. And so, because that'll mess you up. That'll get you off course. That'll get you stumbling, and you will not finish your race if you're constantly worried about what someone else is doing in the next lane. And then as far as the negatives, I kind of built that into my shows. It's just people don't realize how their words and their things, or their even silence, can impact someone. And so just be mindful. Really think about what ways that you could support Black women, the ones that are around you, with whom you work. Just, keep your mouth closed if you can't say anything positive. If you're not here, I'm all about use your words to build people up, not break them down. And so I think, in the field of brain injury, we just have to do that. It just blows my mind, people who go into a profession to help, others, right? Help others get to the next potential, but you can't even do that for your own colleagues next to you.
That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Beautifully said. And I completely echo Angela Colantonio is a girl crush of mine. I think she's phenomenal. My next question is to Monique. Hey, how have you maintained your resilience and your grit and your tenacity whilst you've been pursuing independent research and striving for that? I love the stepped ladder for tenure. And again, mentoring trainees and early career professionals. What strategies have you found useful in this journey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, kind of going on what I mentioned earlier is just, always planning and setting goals for yourself, right? So that you don't get off track or off target. And, just making sure that, things come up, right? Things come up in the way, things happen. Like when I was in Houston and then having to move to Galveston, right, and move away from my family and the challenges of of being a single mother and in a new place, new to academia, all the expectations that are placed on you, and I just kept reminding me. I mean, there was days when I would break down and I had to remind myself, why am I here? Like, what is my ultimate goal? Don't forget my ultimate goal, right? And if I remind myself of that daily, because we tend to like, oh yeah. No, but remind yourself every time you get up, your purpose. That'll help you, walk a little, walk a little lighter and happier because you're moving towards that specific goal. And so, we all go through it. We all go through it where, people are trying to throw you off or, steer you in a different direction. And it sounds so good. They're so good with it, with their words and, try to get you to do things that they want you to do. And, but be mindful of, when others are telling you what they think you should be doing. And constantly evaluate that. And how does that line up with your specific goals? And just, it's constant. That's like an exercise that you just have to do often, so often that it just becomes a part of you. I could think back when I was much younger, I didn't go through that. I didn't have to go through that. I just kind of like lived through lived through spaces. But now, as I'm older, in the field of being in academics, like these mental exercises that you have to do constantly. And so you just have to, I learned really early on that, man, this is different. I'm not going to lie. Like my first week, I called my mentor and I was like, I don't know about these, I don't know. Maybe I didn't make the right decision of going into academia because, you see the politics, you see the drama, certain individuals getting access to more resources, things like things getting moved out the way for certain individuals, that people want to pour their resources into. And it's like, man, like why is it so, where's the equity here, right? And so I'm pretty vocal at my university about that. I'm like, I'm tired of hearing all this diversity, just so you can count us. Oh, what about the equity and making sure that all of us has equal access to resources to make us all successful? If we're all successful, the institution is successful, right? So like it's a win-win situation. So that's what I have to share on that.
I love that. I love that. And again, I'm going to ask the same questions of Kelli. Kelli, I'll start with you. How have you maintained your resilience throughout this process?
Thank you for that. A really good question, because that is something that I've worked with consistently throughout my new life, which is after I had my brain injury at 20 years old. And maintaining resilience, particularly as I've gone through tenure with many of the challenges that I've had to face, not only my own clinical or the problems that I've had, my brain injury, the residual deficits that I still have. I still have slow processing, the inability to really put words together. Sometimes that's a little difficult for me. Believe it or not, as much as I like to talk, sometimes it's hard to do that. Sometimes it's hard to think, particularly on a higher level. And that is why I got my PhD. It wasn't so I could climb up the ladder. I got my PhD because I wanted to think at the highest level possible. So for me, resilience has taken a lot of different forms. And what I can truly say is that I had to look back on what I had achieved and knew that nothing can deter me from what it is that I want to do. So, hey, I think about it, Dr. Hinds, when I went through basic training as a little 4'10" individual and became the platoon leader and got platoon leader of the cycle. So I was like, hey, I can do this. I did the Army. I can do this. And then when I, went through my brain injury after that, and all of the things I had to go through to make it to a point where a lot of things I did without accommodations, without the help of a lot of individuals before I got to my PhD. And I said, I made it this far. I'm going to keep it going. I know that I can make it to another level. And then also not thinking about just what other people need and what they want, because a lot of times individuals will help you. They'll do they'll do things for you, but there's always never like, I'm just going to do it for you and it's not going to benefit me. So how much do you play into allowing others to help you achieve what it is you want to achieve, and how much is it going to be that you're helping them? And I'm open to helping others and doing as much as I can. I love to be a mentor. I love to help uplift people. But there's going to have to come a time when it's all said and done, I have to look out for me. And I think that's been one of the hardest things, is to really sit back and focus on what is the most important thing for you. What do you need to get together so that you can get tenure? Where can you function better? What place will help facilitate your strengths and help you minimize your weaknesses? So it might not be what I thought it might be, and it might not, but it's something that I need to pursue. And I need to keep the resilience going by knowing that I can carve my own path. I don't have to follow what you do. I don't have to follow what other people do. And generally, most people like to look at you and say, oh, you need to do it this way if you're going to get tenure. You need to do it this way if you're going to do this. Well, a lot of people try to tell me after my brain injury, if you're going to make it, you have to do it this way. I said, no, I don't think like you. My brain doesn't work like yours. There's a lot of, I'm going to carve my own path. And no matter what I do, I'm going to make it on my own terms. I will accept help, but I need to learn how to carve my own path. And so those are some of the ways I've thought about resilience. And that's kept me going, is that I've thought about what I've accomplished in the past. And I've thought about how I can keep things going and do things my own way and carve my own path.
That was absolutely, absolutely amazing. The voices of Black survivors of traumatic brain injury and their caregivers are not being heard anywhere at the moment. What do you think can be done to help the community better understand how rehabilitation is experienced by Black survivors of TBI and their caregivers, especially on how systemic barriers can shape opportunities. Monique, what do you think, right, that the community needs?
Yeah, and so going along the lines what Samira was kind of saying about, yeah, you know, we know that there's these disparities, there's these needs, but in you know, kind of just focusing on that, at least on the research perspective. I mean, again, it's already kind of set up that way to identify or differences. So like when you talk about poor community integration, and so using standardized comment used in the field of brain injury, people of color will most likely report like poor community integration outcomes. But why? Why is that the case? Because the measures do not assess activities of daily living and participation that are important to us. And when I say us, I mean people of color.
Right.
So we found that, you know, in the research that we've done, we found that the perceptions of community integration is different for people of color, for Black people with traumatic brain injury, as well as Hispanic people with brain injury. And so, again, I totally agree with Samira that we need more, and that's kind of like where I was. I'm just, okay, I saw a need. Let's do something about this need. What can we do to reduce this need? Why, individuals, why are individuals that are receiving acute care for brain injury, why are they not receiving rehabilitation? We often talk about rehab, but there's so many Black people with brain injury who don't even get a chance to go receive rehabilitation. Why is that? Even if they have insurance, why is that? So, there's what can we do more, with advocating for them, speaking with them, right? Letting them know, the rights that they have, what's out there. Even, I mean, many times, like when I would talk to families, they didn't even know about the different resources that were available to them. And so by shedding that light on them, gave them a new opportunity, right, to be able to advocate for themselves and to seek the care that they rightfully deserve, that, others are receiving without, any question. And so, I will pass the baton on that.
That was so well said. That was so well said. I want to take a few minutes to remind the audience that you can leave your questions and your chats in the comments section there. Kelli, over to you. What can be done to help the community better understand how rehab is experienced by Black survivors?
Get the opportunity for the voices to be heard. So there are some of us that have that experience, and we need to be cognizant that we have to shed that path and be that voice for those that are voiceless. But as I believe myself and Monique has discussed at times, sometimes that's difficult and that gets in the way. And Samira will probably understand this as she moves into academia more. Sometimes that gets in the way of whatever goals are set. And so, so if we even say, and Monique can probably, understand this and think about it. Say we want to put this in the form of a paper or research so that it can match the goals that we're doing, then they talk about the research not being rigorous enough. And that means something that might not help us get where we need to go. So sometimes there are different paths that need to be laid. And for us to get out there and speak our truth. there are some of us that understand what it is we're going through and what it is that the community needs to know. But there needs to be people that help us create that platform so we can get out there and our voices can be heard. I have a lot of mentors that have allowed me, like Samira's talked about, have allowed me to have my own voice. And even at times when they might have swayed me to go in different directions, when it was all said and done, they allowed me to go where it is I needed to go, or where I felt that was most important, so that I could be, I could share more, I could be more of a voice, I could help the community more. And that hasn't necessarily boded well for me for tenure per se, but it has been something that has helped uplift me and it's helped uplift others. So as like now the president of the Brain Injury Association of Virginia, I get out there and I work with the community. They hear my voice, and because of that, the community starts to understand more what we need to help individuals of color be more successful with community reintegration. So there needs to be much more of our voices and ability to be able to share our voices. There needs to be more resources set aside so that even if there's no insurance involved or what have you, there's community type resources that can help. Because a lot of what I did, it wasn't with insurance. It was after the insurance was done. It's after they said you were discharged and you're fine to go on your own. I use the actual community itself to help me learn how to reintegrate into the community.
Wow. That's really, I'm sorry, Kelli, carry on.
No, go. That's basically what I had.
Well, it's a beautiful segue into my sort of last question around supports, right? What did supports look like for you? So you're talking about the community was a great space that allowed you to access, learn, grow. I'm curious, what did support look like for you as a TBI survivor? And what supports did those supporters have to help you navigate?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because for me, I have a laundry list of people that I have to pay homage to because of the support that they have given me. And support is those individuals understanding on whatever level they are what my limitations are, but yet giving me a chance to try, to take those steps. So it starts all the way from the first professor that I had in research in occupational therapy, Dr. Leslie Roundtree. She was there for me. She understood as an occupational therapist what some of my problems were, but she gave me opportunity to try research and to start to do well in it. And she was my opening to actual research altogether, which allowed me to pursue it. I have other mentors like Dr. Cindy Hughes Harris, who is over at FAMU now in a large leadership role that did so much for me. Dr. Juan Arango Lasprilla, that helped me by giving me the opportunities to write with him and to help publish. And a lot of the manuscripts that I have today is because of Juan. And he continues to push me to this day to do as best that I can. Dr. Paul Wayman and Dr. Alan Lewis, Dr. Faye Belgrave, who is well known in psychology, that has been there, helped me with opportunities for writing grants. Dr. Al Capolillo, who is my dear dissertation chair that just passed away. And Dr. James Krause, who is helping me now get my foot in the door in other areas of research like spinal cord injury. So that's Dr. Jessica McKinney Ketchum that helped me with a lot of my biostats to help publish. So for me, supports looks like a village, a village of all different types of people on all different types of every level that are of different ethnic backgrounds, that are different genders, just a village, just taking advantage of everything that somebody is offering, even if it's a little or if it's a lot.
Beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And Monique, what about you? What does supports look like? And maybe tell us a little bit about who your mentors and your mentees are.
Oh, yeah. As far as support, I did this exercise a few weeks ago where it's kind of this diagram where I had to plug in, like, you know, my supports essentially. I have a group of my girls, you know, Kelli's included in that, you know, who I go to for, you know, emotional, professional, you know, you name it, any kind of support that I can always go to and you know, keep it real and speak raw. And then I have my group, you know, the people in the field, right, that, you know, provide kind of help and insight about, you know, kind of the next steps, the nitty gritty of, you know, research and brain injury rehabilitation. And then I have, you know, kind of my core, you know, the ones from that's been there since day one, you know, who I've shared, you know, who to this day, I still work with them. I still collaborate with them. I still write papers with them. Playing grants with them. Then I have, you know, other people in there. I mean, you can't forget, you know, those that may come in at different time, right? So, I mean, I just have a large, really, really large network of wonder, and you're on that, you know, too now, Nneka. And Samira, and I have to do more with Sid. So, you know, it's just my network is growing, and you know, just to be, you know, in spaces like this and outside of spaces like this with and working with individuals who, you know, we're all, you know, in this together, right, to improve lives of people with brain injury. And so, you know, I'm just thankful for everyone that has helped me along this way. I didn't do it by myself. Many doors were open for me, and I'm thankful. And I try to open doors for others, you know. You know, the mentees that I work with, all of them are, you know, individuals. You know, I have one who's an African-American male and also a Hispanic female who I'm directly working with. And so I give to them, I share with them either things that others have shared with me, as well as things that others failed to share with me, right? To talk about color and, you know, racism in academia, in medicine. And so I just, you know, make sure that I tell them, I don't say these things to like make you think negative about the field, right? I tell you these things so you can prepare.
Exactly.
Because, you know, you may not have experienced them today. You know, it may be 10 years from now before you experience them. Who knows? But I want you to be prepared when that day does come.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to open it up about the chats. I think we have one comment, and that is from Benoni. Do you want to unmute yourself and jump in? You can only text, I've been told. Okay, so I'll read the comment. Language is so important, and that is why neurodiversity is so important to consider, because it works much like other types of diversity that have social forces of oppression, like racial or gender diversity. And I completely agree about the importance of language. When you name something, you put it out into the universe as a way for people to understand what you're talking about. And that whole neurodiversity is a way of understanding that people's brains, none of our brains are identical, and that there are different ways that brains work. And people that have suffered a brain injury, their brain is working at a different level, a different way, but it doesn't mean that they are less than, right? And shifting that and talking about neurodiversity is a way of, again, amplifying and approaching this from a justice lens, as opposed to a disability. I hope I've explained it well. Benoni? Oh, I'm just monitoring the chat. If I hear more, I'll come back. We're going to spend a few very, very quick lightning round for you to share sort of last thoughts, the call to action type last thoughts. Oh, Catherine says, she says yes. There we go. That's good. That's good. Let's do a very quick lightning round before I then sum up what I've heard. We've got a few minutes, like 9 minutes. What do you want? What do you want the profession, the TBI world, to know if you had this opportunity to say to them, understand this, listen to this? What's the call to action? Kelli, do you want to start?
Nneka, I had these written down, and I know we're going to share them. So I just wanted to say, particularly for professionals, that I would like for them more to try to think outside the box and to really consider the unique talents that Black women have that might not be something that's necessarily akin to the status quo or what they're used to seeing in a predominantly white male structure. So like somebody just said, Monique just put on the chat, we are Black queens. And we have gotten to a point, we have gotten to an area, a level of leadership with a lot that we've had to maneuver through. So there are some unique things about us. There's some strong characteristics about us. And they need to think about that and, think outside the box and see, how can we use these talents? How can we use this strength so that we can epitomize what our organization is about, what our institution is about? Not just diversity, but the promotion of strong Black women. So I would like for them to just try to think more outside of the box and to bring more women into leadership positions so that we can make that difference and we can share not only in just being there as a quote unquote maybe token, but sharing in that decision-making power.
Beautiful.
So that we can make change.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Monique, you said you had some call to actions for.
Yeah, I have call to action for both. So call to action to my Black queens. Number one, practice self-compassion, please. No more saying, I'm sorry. Give yourself grace, right? Like you give others grace. Don't let anyone or any institution define your worth or your purpose. Make sure you form safe space. I have a group that I meet with, and we're all different races, but we meet women. We meet every month, and it's a safe space for us to share our experiences, because you need to do that, right? Instead of holding all this in. Many of us been holding it in for years, right? And if it just feels so good to be able to get it out and share with others that can relate with your same experiences. Look for resources and support in your institution. If your institution doesn't have it, it is okay to look elsewhere. Protect yourself, be mindful of those words that do not align with their actions. So look at them with the side eye, and then have a C, D, E, F, G. If you need to, always plan. Don't get discouraged if one doesn't work. Go to the next. Just keep going after your goal. Now, to the people in leadership positions, I have here, again, kind of reiterating what I said earlier. Don't just count, focus and be the lip service about diversity. Engage with faculty, Black women, of color, any women of color, right? And foster their strengths and provide training and support connections to help them address potential weaknesses, right? Be initiators. That's key. Be the initiator. Don't sit around waiting for us to come up to you to for you know, help. Be the initiator. Stop waiting for your mentee or junior faculty to know what they need to know. Sometimes we don't know what we need at times, especially in this new field. Practice culture, humility, inclusive leadership. If you don't know what I'm talking about, seek training. Speak with love. Use your words, again, to build up and not tear down. And I should have put this number one. Reevaluate the tenure and promotion process. We're going to keep seeing on the news about wonderful Black men and women who are leaving academia or switching institutions, right? Because of the system is broken. Stop moving the finish line. Stop moving the finish line. Make it clear, you know, acknowledge us. Many of us are doing a lot of service, right? A lot of working, you know, with the community. But is that given any kind of, is that even acknowledged, right, in that tenure promotion process, the contributions that you've made to the community? And so, again, you know, it's the system, right? It needs to be changed, because in the current way things are going, it's really set up to really for us not to achieve that tenure. That's why it takes us so much longer. It's not that we're not good enough, right? Yeah. It's because the system is already set up for us to not achieve tenure at the time frame as our other counterparts.
Beautiful. Well said. It's so powerful and profound. And I know we have a few minutes or seconds left. I just want to thank all of you for bringing it, and bringing it with such fearless authenticity, unapologetically. I am so grateful that I've had the opportunity to share the space with all of you three brilliant women. We do have some feedback, and that was Monique talking about the importance of asking yourself, what is it that you need? Why are you here? What's your goal? Having all of these goals that you set for yourself, because that is what's going to keep you going, by constantly checking in. And Samira also talked about self-reflexivity, how that's important to constantly look back in, look in, ask yourself, check in on yourself. I think it was Monique who also said, keep your mouth closed if you can't say anything positive. My sister had a thing around, her statement was, if you're not bringing water, don't bring gasoline. If you're not bringing something that's going to solve and hurt and salve the pain, don't show up. Don't come to me. Don't bring it at all, because you're not helping. In fact, you're actually inflaming things. Samira talked about recognizing the importance of having life outside of this, right? And also being able to find joy in that life outside of this, because sometimes the work and the life activities that really consumes you can keep you away from actually, as you said, around finding hope and joy. All of that work can actually keep you stifled and not recognizing how much you've grown, which leads really beautifully into what Kelli said about the importance of looking back and seeing just how far she has come, and having that as the motivator to say to herself, holy moly, I can do this. I have the capacity to do this. I've got this. I can do this. But you can only do that once you sort of step back, look back at how far you've come, and then being able to recognize and give yourself credit, patting yourself on the back. I think it was Samira who talked about mental gymnastics of that you have to go through when you walk into spaces where nobody looks like you and you're the only one. And that's my constant life, walking into spaces and then being, again, occupying that space unapologetically, because I am a child of this earth, as much right to breathe the air, occupy the seat that I'm in comfort as anybody else, and not having to apologize for it, but recognizing that there's harm when I'm the only one in the room. So how do we create spaces where other women, other people that look like us are in these spaces? Reminding yourself of why you're here on the daily, constantly waking up every morning and saying, I have a purpose and I have a dream and I'm going to achieve it. I think one of the really, really beautiful parts that touched me was the conversation around when people are putting obstacles in your way, when people are putting roadblocks in your way, having the courage to carve your own path, right? Because you have the faith and belief in yourself, and knowing that you have the strength that you can actually, by doing what you're doing, impact other people. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, regardless of what anybody else is trying to tell me that I can or cannot do. I have faith in myself. I believe in myself, and I'm going to carve my own way, because as Kelli said, my way of doing things might not be the same as yours, but it works for me. So I'm going to keep doing it. And then really high level around, and this is Samira talking about how research is actually a tool for advocacy, and how anybody and everybody in academia who doesn't understand this, that you have a role to play to change the world, to make it more just and more equitable, then you're not doing it right. If you are in a space where all you're concerned about is a certain population of people and creating opportunities for that group, you are actually missing out on the greatness and the brilliance and the potential that other communities, Black women we're talking about now, that they can bring, and how their strengths and their genius and their brilliance can actually elevate your institution. So you're cutting your nose to spite your face by ignoring the expertise and brilliance of Black women. So if you have common sense, which my dad used to say is not common, understand that Black women have capacity, Black women have expertise, Black women have experience. And Kelli said about using these talents. I'm very weary about the word use, because sometimes Black women, our work is plagiarized. People use us. They take our work, they take our brilliance, and they palm it off as their own. And I think using us is in a way of beneficial, right? It benefits us as it benefits them. Don't come take from us and then go away and plagiarize and think that this is yours. If you're going to take something from me, you need to give something back. And I think all of this whole conversation has really, really shifted, for me at least, my understanding of how being Black and in academia and doing the work of traumatic brain injury, how it has challenges as well as opportunities. And I am so inspired knowing that there are Black women warriors who are at the front, the vanguard of this work. I am so incredibly honored and so proud to have been in this space, moderating this conversation, because all of you women have just made my bloody day, right? You just made my day. I want to thank you all for showing up. I want to thank you all for speaking your truth. And I'm going to hand it over to Sidney to, again, lead us out as you led us in.
Well, there's not much I can say. You all said it so perfectly. The only thing that I can think of is taking what you've all said and rolling up your sleeves. So there are some, like NINDS at NIH, you know, getting like-minded people together to put in a proposal, to have start some discussions with, you know, Walter Koroshetz and Pat Belgowan in TBI, and really take a look at some of those populations that are underserved, both in delivering the care and research, but also on the, you know, receiving end, right? There's a lot of opportunity there, certainly with, you know, NIDLR as well. But I think, as what I heard from all of your experiences, are those incremental successes. While there were failures, or, you know, maybe we don't, there's a little asterisk in the scorebook that didn't go, you know, as smoothly as I would have liked it to go. But these incremental successes, but you know, using research as an advocacy, advocacy, I think could be started with even NIH in NINDS, and proposing those research proposals, you know, what's going out there. And so it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's the right thing to do, but there's also dollars being put against people who want to do that research, and want to do that research to be impactful for the population. So that, you know, that would be my parting thought. And you know, please use my name in vain, or let me know. But you know, rolling up the sleeves and trying to get that kind of awareness, and having maybe even a pre-proposal gathering those people, not only nationally but internationally, together in Bethesda, Maryland, when we can start getting people together. But yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for allowing me to be part of this. And if there's anything I can do, please let me know.
Thank you, Sidney. Thank you, everybody. That was absolutely spectacular. Thank you all, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see each other again soon.